Gina DeLuca here. All right, I am going to be doing some product testing today. I have the Paul Rubens Acrylic Pigments. That is R-U-B-E-N-S, not Pee Wee Herman Paul Rubens, but the painter Paul Rubens. I will say this, having mixed these are pretty thick. Typically when they come in a bottle like this, it's more liquidy. This is like tube paint thick. And when you are adding your pouring medium, all three of these got clumpy. And what I always do is add a bit of my pouring medium, in this case I'm using Floetrol, into the bottom of my cup, and then I add the paint and I mix in that little bit of Floetrol until it gets smooth. And even when it gets lumpy, if you're only adding a little bit at a time, it will break up a lot faster than if you added all of your Floetrol and tried to mix it in. That is going to be an absolute nightmare. So add a little bit of Floetrol at a time until you can see that it's not getting lumpy anymore, and then you can add it en masse. So that is a very important note that I found. I don't know if these paints were old and that's why they did that, or if it is just the particular chemical makeup of these paints. And let me show you. I made a color swatch of all of these paints. And what you can see, so I put a little black mark here in the corners. And the only two that are truly opaque, I would say, are the Claret Satin and the Flash Purple. The purplish red, I would say, is semi-opaque. The Bronze Satin, semi. And everything else is pretty transparent. When I'm doing color testing, I kind of just have a system. I use yellow and blue and magenta. It's not really a magenta so much. It's really kind of it's the only one that's really a flash color. It's got some like flash purple in there, but it's kind of magenta. So even though these other ones say flash yellow, like this one says flash yellow, flash pearl, flash purple, it's not the kind of flash that, you know, we're used to, where it's a different color of a flash going on. So that's what these swatches look like, and we're gonna do some testing today. So this is about 1 part paint to 2 parts Floetrol, and I have not added any water to this. That is the consistency that we are working with. Before we get started, have you seen the Fluid Art inspiration cards? If you have, you can fast forward about a minute, but if you have not, what we have are 52 cards. There are 42 technique cards, and each technique card has an associated video here on YouTube that gives you all of the information that you need, the exact paint brand, color, consistency, the recipe, the technique, all of the things that I can't fit onto a card. This is a picture of the painting in that video. This box here contains a tip for this particular technique, and here at the bottom you have the color palette that was used in this painting. These two boxes can be used together as the basis of a 2-color palette, or you can build off of those colors. And there are 8 bonus color palette cards. Each one has 5 color palettes. You can use all of the colors or just some of the colors. Mix and match the bonus color palette cards with the technique cards, and you have more combinations than you could ever paint in a lifetime. These are available at my website, ginadeluca.net, and also at amazon.com. The colors that I'm using, I have the Crepe Myrtle, Flash Yellow, and Glossy Blue. Not sure why it's called Glossy Blue. It doesn't really appear to be much glossier than the others. Perhaps it is a little, I don't know. I don't really see it. But that's what's happening. All right, the first thing I'm going to do is lay down a base coat. This is going to allow the paints to slide around easily and evenly. When I'm doing product testing, I do like to use a smaller canvas. It's an experiment. And I like to use the same colors. I mean, as close as I can every time I'm doing a product test, just as a control. One thing I will say is all of these paints are metallic, so that is atypical for one of my product tests. That does not, have not done that in a product test before. But that is what I was supplied, and that is what I will be doing. I am not being paid by this company, so you will be getting an honest review. You always get an honest review. No one has ever paid me to review a product. I don't know that I would do that because I would feel compelled to make the person paying me happy. But I also find it very important to be honest with my viewers, because I do not want you to go out and spend money on a product that is going to be inferior or frustrating. So you will always get an honest review from me, sometimes to the chagrin of the company that I am reviewing. If y'all remember my review of the Artist Loft pre-mixed paints, it did not go well for me, and I could not give it a good review. I have seen some other people get some good results with that, but it did not work for the things that that I like to do, and so it's not something I use. All right, going to put some paint in a cup. Going to start with a bit of the white, my base coat slash background color. And this is a small canvas, so you don't need a whole lot. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to go yellow, blue, and then magenta. Pouring from up high and allowing those paints to sink and churn. I'm going to pop some bubbles with a torch. I will say that is an interesting start. I have paints coming up to the top that could indicate some potential cells that are going to happen. Let me actually put a bit more of the white on the top. This is certainly going to be more paint than I need. All right. Let's make a mess, shall we? Going to just doing a traditional straight pour here to see how these paints behave. And I've got the last color that I poured in, which was the magenta, is showing up at the bottom of the cup. That is what I wanted. That's my favorite color of the three because it has that beautiful flash. So, all right. Let's pop some more bubbles. So in a straight pour, for me, I like to allow it to sit, let that paint puddle percolate, because as those cells pop up, if the paint is matte and it is used with a glossy paint, like this white paint is a glossier paint, if these paints are matte, it will bring cells up. When I pop the bubbles, it's going to bring some of the underlying paint. And if it is matte and has a hydrophobic effect, it is going to give you cells, and the cells will grow as it sits. So then when you go to stretch it out, you wind up with bigger cells. So patience is very, very important in a straight pour. I mean, I definitely have some cell action going on here. Not necessarily typical of the paints that I usually use for my straight pour, but indeed, there are cells there. There is no silicone in these paints. So when I'm doing a straight pour, I like to use a color for my background that is the same color as the base coat. So the background is the color in my pour that I am not expecting to sell, and that is going to be the glossiest paint. That's going to be the paint that goes into the cup first, and the other colors get poured into it. And the base coat is what goes onto the canvas first. And the reason for that is when I pop bubbles, say there was no white in my pour and I had a white base coat, if there are still little teeny tiny bubbles in the base coat and it comes up through the pour, it's going to bring some of that white paint with it, and then I wind up with little teeny tiny white cells that will drive me batty. Definitely getting cell action. Some really pretty lacing going on there. I'm definitely going to try to accentuate this area when I do my tilting. That's my favorite part right there. One of the reasons that I really like to use yellow, blue, and magenta is those are basically our primary colors, and using those three together, I will be able to determine if A, I'm going to get mud if the colors blend too much, but B, I can still end up with a whole rainbow just using these three colors with the way that they wind up blending together. Got some more of the crepe myrtle prepping up over here. Let's give her a tilt. Going to try to be very careful to not lose too much of that magenta. It's going to be impossible not to lose any, but I'm just going to come to the other side. Bring the weight of the paint back to center. And I'm going to use the weight of the paint. Oh, you know what? Hold on. This needs to be touched up a bit. The corners can set up on you when they sit for a bit. and be a little harder to slide that paint off. And then to hit that last corner, all right, bringing the weight of the paint back to center. There's a lot of white in that center that I'm not loving. I'm going to see if I can just tilt just some of that white off. So where the weight of my paint is going to have the most, it's going to be moving the most. It's where it moves the fastest, and you can use that to your advantage to tilt off just in the middle if you want, which is certainly a lot easier on a bigger canvas. All right, so I'm gonna let this sit and see what it does. I'm thinking I'm probably still gonna be getting some more pop-up cells, especially in these areas where it got very stretched on the edges. So I'll let this sit and I'll see what it's gonna do. Another painting, I think I'm gonna do a flip cup here. All right, I'm going to do a flip cup here. And the way that I like to do those, I start with the white, and then I will do two colors together. Let's see. It's going to be in the center. Yes. Right. Okay. Sorry, had to think for a moment. So I will do the red and the blue, or magenta and blue, crepe myrtle, that is. Some white, some yellow and magenta, some more white, and then some blue and yellow. And this way, I have all of the colors touching each other at some point, and that will give me a rainbow. And then just finishing it off with some more white. Little tip, if you're doing flip cups, make sure that your cup is the right size for your pour. If you are doing a piece this size, you don't want to use a cup this big, because what happens is when you flip it over, all of the paints have already mixed going down the sides of the cup before it even hits the canvas, and you already have mud that's happening. We like to avoid that. Popping bubbles. Removing cat hair. All right, just going to flip this over. All right, and now I shall lift. Just use what is left in the cup for the corners, because you know the corners are corners and they will be cornering as they like to corner. And now to Papa the Bubbles. This particular technique for doing flip cups can give you some really cool ethereal effects, which can be really beautiful. I don't do flip cups very often because they're very hard to control. I like having control. For those of you who have watched me for a while, you know this about me. That's why I'm obsessed with straight boards, because it gives me control. I typically have a pretty good inclination of what is going to happen when I put my paints in the cup. Unless, of course, I'm trying a new paint or a new combo. I'll be honest, I'm actually pretty surprised at how well these paints are selling. Yeah. It's pretty good. And really, it's giving me a lot of lacing, more than the hydrophobic effect, I think. I think this is more of a lacing situation because that titanium white is heavy and it's giving some of that action. But they are cells nonetheless. Okay, one more pop. And I'm going to give her a stretch. I think I will come this way first. And then the other direction. Taking your time is a good thing. You don't need to whip it around the canvas. It is not the Indy 500. Going slow gives you more control. All right, and now to adjust for composition. I love what is going on up here, how that is really soft and blendy and ethereal. And I think I'm actually going to tip off a little bit of this pink to accentuate that over yonder. As much as I love it, it's a really pretty color. But I really like, they look like water droplets. Neato. And then a little bit, just a little bit in this direction, just in the center. And bring it back to center. Okay. Let's give this one more zap. All right, now I'm going to let that sit. I paused it and then I forgot to hit record again. So I just used some of the leftover paints that had dripped as a base coat because I don't have enough white. I already put my paint in the cup. I just did the same as I did for the last one, where it was the magenta and yellow, then or white, then magenta, then yellow, then white, then blue, then magenta. You know, that thing, alternating. So we're gonna see what happens. I'm just gonna do a ring pour here. I want to see how these colors hold up for a ring pour. When I do my product testing, I like to do a flip cup, a straight pour, and a ring pour because I like to see how the paints react. Just taking my time a little bit with the center here. All right. Plenty of paint. Probably didn't really even need that base coat. All right. What direction am I going first? I think I'm going to go up to this corner first. There we go. Try to get that corner covered. Bringing the weight of the paint back to center before changing direction. You can almost get 90 degrees going on the on your corners if you're very mindful of where the weight of your paint is. All right, and now I will adjust for composition. I'm going to bring this down, the weight of the paint down, and I'm going to tilt off of this side. I see some schmutz in there that is causing some grief. It's a little clump of that magenta paint, and you can see when you get little tiny clumps how it kind of gives you these wiggles in your lines. You don't want that. All right. One of the things that I look for in the ring pours is how does the paint stick to the side? Are the lines still very crisp on the sides of the canvas? And it does not appear that that is going to be the case with this particular paint. I'll be interested to see how these dry since they are metallic paints. The cups are really pretty though, I'll say that. All of the cups had some pretty things going on. Let's see. All right, so I'm going to let these sit for a bit and see. I can see that their cells developing. So this is not something that I would probably use for a ring pour. I don't like having cells in my ring pours. One of the things that I could do to hinder that is to not use Flow Draw. So that could be another test that I do later on to see if I get better lines when I am not using Floetrol. And that's really kind of going on with, ooh, a little spot there, with all three of them. It's not sticking very well to the sides. So, all right, I will, I'm going to clean up. I'm going to let this sit for a couple minutes, and I'm going to bring you in for a close-up. Back in a few. Okay, here we go. This is the straight pour. And you can see it definitely got cells. These sides, the coverage is not great on the sides. That does happen when you're using Floetrol. But some paints definitely stick better than others on the sides. And that is how the straight pour turned out. And then painting number 2, we have the flip cup. Still plenty of cells going on there. Lacing. I like these little cells here. They look like water droplets. And so that is the flip cup. And again, you can see the sides. The sides are covered, not very much. That is also why if I'm using a colored base coat, I will paint the sides, whatever the color the base coat is, just in case it gets thin like that. And here is the ring pour. Lots of cells in this ring pour. Not a whole lot of separation of color. So if I were going to do a ring pour with these paints, I'm definitely trying a different pouring medium, because the Floetrol is not giving me what I like from a ring pour. But there it is. There you have it. I hope you learned something. I hope you enjoyed. Please do like, share, and subscribe and all that good stuff. Leave a comment. If you are subscribed, please make sure that you have clicked that bell so you are receiving notifications of my uploads. One of the paintings that I did recently, I looked at it and there was not a single view from a subscriber. Something is really, really wrong, because there are people that are coming to my premieres that I know are subscribers, and why are they not showing up as having watched? But also, it's like, you know, I have 165,000 subscribers and I'm getting like 400 views. Something is crazy. So please make sure you've clicked that bell. And if you have already clicked that bell and you're still not getting notifications, you might need to unsubscribe and then resubscribe and click the bell again. I don't know what YouTube has done, but I do not like it. Do check out the description box below for links to my PayPal tip jar if you feel so inclined. Affiliate links and coupon codes you'll find in there. You can get a discount on some groovy stuff. And I can also receive a commission at no additional cost to you. Also, in the description box, you will find a link to my website, GinaDeLuca.net, where you can find my art and music and fluid art inspiration cards for sale. And you will also find the link to our Facebook group. Go make some art, join us there, post your masterpieces, ask your questions, get some inspiration. A good time is had by most. It is the internet after all. And there we have it. Paul Rubens Acrylic Pigments. That is what we got. All right, that's it for me for today. I hope y'all have a beautiful day. Now go make some art.